Recording in progress.
Microphone going, please. Welcome. I'm going to call to order the December 12th Lititz Council meeting, and I'm going to turn it over to the mayor for the pledge.
Please rise, pledge the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, we're going to get right into it. The purpose of this meeting tonight is our budget Q&A opportunity. I'm going to turn it over to Ken Mobley to get started.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome. And the format tonight is it's like normal. We'll invite folks to come up to the mic, state their address and state their question, and we'll give them about 3 minutes to respond. And we're glad you're here. So welcome. And that's the format. We're not presenting anything other than just responding to interest and for more clarification of our budget.
Not all at once.
So you know, we've had a couple sessions. We've been working on it for a while. We've had a public session and we talked about it at the last meeting. Tonight was hopefully we can bring some clarification or better understanding. There's some things that are just routine infrastructure expenses that's in our bill, and there's also some excitement in the budget with the runabout line that I'm excited about. It brings some things that longer serving council members have been working on for a number of years. That's going to bring a attention to the trail once we get that runabout line in. And so there's some excitement in our budget, future looking. We've as a staff, we've challenged some of the expenses that have been presented. Some we've pushed back on, some we've agreed to as we've gone through the different expenses.
All right, thanks, Jerry.
Make it work.
Exactly. We had the meeting, right? Somebody's got to talk.
I'm Joey Mack. I'm at 114 Red Fox Lane. I want to first of all thank the council and the staff for putting together a comprehensive budget. I went through it. It's quite extensive, and appreciate that. One of the things I'm trying to learn is how the various funds interact with the general operating fund. I'm not clear about how all of that works. I really appreciate in the budget that you pay attention to some of the staff needs in terms of training, making sure that our employees are fairly compensated. I think for our borough to function effectively, we need to make sure that we focus in on our staff and our employees, and I think the budget relates to that. So thank you for doing that. I saw in the budget you have goals, and then you have people who are responsible for various goals, and it's vetted within the budget. I'd like to suggest you pull those out, those goals and the plans, and have a separate document that we can use to track throughout the year how we're doing with those as kind of an operating plan for the year around some of those particular items that you are projecting. The one question I have is, what's the biggest challenge you think the borough has in terms of meeting the revenue goals that you have for the budget?
I think one of the challenges, of course, we don't have a tremendous amount of revenue streams. So, real estate, earned income tax, and then you've got a bunch of other smaller streams that come into play. But yeah, certainly, earned income tax, is always. The LCTCB does a great job of estimating what we should expect, but there's no way to predict when things might change. Yeah. So that's always a challenge.
One of the benefits we've had with this staff is the ability to win grants. It's helped us do a lot more infrastructure projects that we don't pay for because we won a grant at the state level the local level. So that's a talent, and that can vary from time to time. We've got one in play right now with the leaf vacuum, and then we're working on a grant in the background for the lead pipe removal line. But the federal guidelines haven't been defined, so we can't go out for funding until that's been declared. So that's a risk. Once we don't have any grant access, that would mean we'd have to look at other sources. We've been very fortunate this year in the quick action of staff to use the sweep accounts that are making significant contributions to a revenue line.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I saw you have projections for some of the things that need to be done infrastructure wise this year. I would just hope that we would think ahead a couple of years, know what they are going to be, and then start building our budgets around anticipating what we might have to deal with in the future.
Jerry, that's a really good question, and there is evidence of that in our budget. You might have picked up on it when we were talking about the sewer lateral tapping fees.
Yes.
And that we were not going to publish any increase in cost until we got the full capital expenditures done by Infomark and what our plants need. So that's a good call out. I like it, and we are trying to do that where it fits.
That's actually one thing we did ask Rob with the first guy, and he's continuing to work on that, is trying to identify where the big infrastructure costs are going to be. I mean, we can try our best, but we have no idea when some water line collapses or sewer line collapses. I'm surprised there, but the team has been working on hammering, sending cameras down into these old sewer lines, water lines, stormwater lines, trying to identify what next, and then aligning that with the road improvements, the paving plan. We can try to forecast, okay, if we're going to go do XYZ road, we also know that we're going to have to replace some sewer lines. So we can budget those years. And we're trying to build that as built so that we can have that information so we know each year how much we have to budget for some road failure costs.
We are working with Intech in that way, because anything in infrastructure is expensive. Any repair at the water plant is $1 million, or even to replace it, it's multiple millions. So that's a great call out, and we have a great engineering staff that we leverage to help project.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thing online, Rob?
No, no one's chatted yet.
Go ahead, Dave.
My name is Dave Carson at 226. We might have a couple of questions. I looked at it. I see you're projecting a deficit for 2024 of 361,381 in the general fund. I have some questions about some specific line items that I can ask you about. And specifically, in the financial administration, we have $90,000 for financial. What is that? You want to? I get time to then you want to answer questions or
If you
want more than three?
you
I'll
want to-
talk now.
Yeah, if you just want to go through the questions, then we can like go, yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
my
So you're talking about inexpensive,
financial administration
402, line item number 450, right?
Yeah, it went from 75,000 to 90,000.
Yeah.
What is that and why do we need it?
See, that's a good question. So that line item has been expanded for a number of reasons. Number one, we have a new auditor this year. So the Waltz Group is part of that line item where we pay them for their bookkeeping services. We anticipate some extra hours of time, compensate them as they integrate with the new auditor. Number two, bank fees for the Trementis electronic billing card. There's some we'll actually be incurring some of those costs at the borough for an ACH check. What was the others? Two expenses that will be charged for Trementis.
Yep.
I can get that to you. But that basically is a Waltz Group and their extra time, Dave, that we're going to need.
What is the hourly rate for walk?
I don't have that information here. I don't know.
How much of the 90,000 is walk?
I can get that answer for you, but I don't have it.
Honestly, ballpark.
We have that available.
I don't have that handy, no.
And question is, why don't we just hire a staff person? Why do we need to pay, it's worth over $100 an hour for bookkeeping? And our audit fees are $41,500. Why do we need an accountant to do the accounting? You know, we could hire somebody in staff at a cheaper price and have it here all the time. So that's my question. If you could let me know about the Wall Street, I'd appreciate it.
I can give you some kind of answer, at least to the staff question.
Mhm.
Many years ago, we did have a staff person who did all the book work. Couple challenges there. One of them is, you know, the benefits that we provide to staff are very expensive. I think single coverage for health insurance this year was somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000.
It was, for a single person was $2,000 per month.
Per month. So 24 grand just for the health insurance component.
Borough pays all of that?
I think they might have a small.
All but 70.
Yeah, okay. They got a small contribution. Again, dictated by labor agreements. So
Clerical staff are they're in the union or?
they are covered by the non-uniform contract. Their benefits are dictated by the non-uniform labor contract. So if you figure, you know, I don't know what family coverage was, but so if you hire a staff member with family coverage, maybe it's not double, but it's a lot more. And then on top of that, you have one person that's tasked with knowing all the changing rules and regulations of all the things that go on in this borough amongst all the funds all year long. And when your auditor comes in the next year, you're going to make up for all your savings by paying them to fix all the problems and the amount of time that they're going to spend. And we experienced that.
Don't we have a full-time finance person already that was given a raise 2 years ago that should be on top of that?
She does work with a number of the funds with payment entry and yes, some bookkeeping, but she's not an accountant. And there's a lot of nuance in, you know, what the entries that they're making in the different funds. And so if there's all kinds of mistakes that are made throughout the year, when the auditor comes in, they've got to spend a tremendous amount of time fleshing these out and fixing them. So, you know, pay me now, pay me later type of thing. We found when that staff member left that it made a lot of sense to go outside and not to have an in-house staff member because, you know, the cost of benefits, pension, that's not even to mention the defined benefit pension that we provide, which is a tremendous cost to the borough.
And just trending, it looks like 2022 we spent 102 in that line item. 2023 is 77, so the budget now you
75 last year. But I kind of disagree.
budgeted 75, it ended at 77. So
Okay, I don't have, the budget doesn't have the actual numbers, so I don't know what they are. I kind of disagree. My background is a CPA. I was an auditor for a number of years. I think my opinion, I think they're paying too much. You don't need to have an outside accounting firm. I mean, I would just put on the record, someone could look at it. I think it's not efficient use of money, especially when you're budgeting in excess of expenses over revenue. You're projecting the loss. I don't see any kind of effort in here to reduce any expenses. And then going with that, our audit expense, we project $41,500 off of the ground sports engagement letter. Comparing ourselves to World Township, which is very comparable, we're paying $16,000. That's a significant difference, $25,000. Talked before about different method of accounting. Doesn't appear that anybody's looking to reduce expenses. So those are two items that, you know, I just want to put in the record that maybe someone needs to look at with new people coming on council.
Dave, do you mind if I ask what you feel is a reasonable rate for an accountant that experience? Salary plus benefits?
It depends. I mean, I don't believe. I'm kind of concerned when you tell me you have a finance person, but you're not an accountant. What's the point of having a finance? So if they don't have an accounting back.
But you feel that this money that we're spending is too high and that
So what do you feel?
individual person would be less? Do you have a feel for what that?
Well, I don't know what the duties are. Do you need a full-time person? You need a part-time person in addition to what you have. You have a full-time person now, right?
Correct. It's
I
Just a second, that's serving in that role and is also, like in any small organization, serving across many different roles to assist. So it's not as if he's spending 40 hours a week doing bookkeeping.
I understand. I just think that's a lot of money to paying out, so I'm sure it's 150, 125 per hour you're paying the Walsh Group. I would bet it.
What, back to Christine's question, what do you think is reasonable?
What I think would be reasonable, and I'm talking private sector. What I would think the job
That is the
duties are,
question.
$50,000-$60,000 would be a high number. You already have someone who's supposedly a finance manager, you don't really need someone with tremendous background otherwise. I just think it's a way to save some money, you know. I think that, you know, you're projecting a deficit, and maybe look to cut some costs to the taxpayers. And the audit expense, again, I used to be the auditor for Warwick Township way back in the 90s. That was in a different, you know, era, but why are they
Rob.
paying 16,000 and we're paying 41,000?
Rob, how many quotes did we get for our new auditor this year?
We got four written proposals.
And we solicited from how many vendors?
7.
Yeah. But the same firms doing Warwick Township that's doing this. Or
I couldn't speak to what Warwick Township's costs or the exercises that they have to go through with a township date. So all I can tell you is we went out, we looked at 7 vendors, or we requested pricing from 7 vendors. We got 4. I don't know what you want me to do. There aren't that many people that do this.
they're using
The scope of services, identical.
using a modified cash basis, and you guys are using a pool. So I don't understand, why is there a tremendous $25,000 difference? I don't know. Maybe because the staff's not as good here as over there. I don't know. But I'm not here to give the answers. I'm asking questions, and someone on the staff so maybe look to say, why are we paying 41,000 for an audit when Warwick Township is paying 16,000? That's a significant difference. I think that's a borough council or finance person, someone should be looking at that. I'm just raising the question. I don't know the details of what's, you know, going on behind the scenes. I'm asking the question.
I can't answer why Warwick Township is cheaper. We can have conversations with Brian and Steve. I imagine it's the different funds or different exercises they do. When we looked at what we needed, what we were asking for the borough, we got some 4 competitive rates that we were happy with, and we chose the ones we thought could best serve our staff and our community. But to your point, we can certainly take a deeper dive as why they're cheaper, but that's not why we selected this group compared to what they do there. We looked for what best serves.
We will look at the scope of service.
Right, I'm
The
not-
assumption is it's gonna be a different level of scope of service.
I know what it's an audit, there's a different base accounting requirement less work.
Yeah.
So, and it might be different staff members.
Well, they don't have a sewer treatment facility either to be audited.
Well,
So
this is just a township. I just looked at,
Right.
I didn't look at the authority. I just looked at the borough funds, it's 41,500. The authority's not in this. That's another money. Look at the borough of general funds and everything else, it's 41,500. The Warwick Township is paying, and no, it's not apples and oranges, but they're very similar. You know, the township and
Rob,
borough.
Rob,
use the same.
can you talk to the township to just find out exactly what's in their scope of services for their auditing compared to ours?
I sure can.
So I got some questions about that, and I'm not gonna get bad, you know, looks here, but you can look at Warwick Township, but please, I'm happy with our please, and everybody wants safety, but, you know, when we're projecting deficits and we're paying, budgeting $3,063,137, Warwick Township is budgeting $2,399,652. It's a difference of $663,000. That's a lot of money. And nobody's saying we need to be less safe. So maybe there's something to look into. I know I had a conversation with Andy Griner about it, and he raised the issues like you said when he came on council. You know, but you know, that's a lot of money that the taxpayers are being asked to pay. In addition, and maybe there's some other way to save it. I'm not questioning the police force, they do a great job. But you know, that's a lot of money that could potentially be saved. So I would hope at least maybe the new council members would want to raise some of those questions and ask for, you know, answers going forward. Couple other things, and we, you know, we put out other bids for other professional services like engineering services. That's usually a 3 or 4 year contract. something maybe look at in that regard. And the other thing I'm gonna come back on is, last year in 2023, we increased garbage fees. And I'm looking at your budget, you're bringing in $1,259,000 of revenue. Garbage fees to contractor, $1,019,000. So the borough is profiting, so to speak, $240,000 off the garbage fees. Now, I understand there's overhead, but there's not that much overhead to process bills that go out quarterly.
Yeah, not bills. I think we talked about this last year and that there are other refuse collection services the borough provides that have to be paid for somehow. And so when we're collecting leaves for 2 months out of the year, those wages get paid somehow.
When we out of taxes, they don't pay out of garbage fees.
When we're collecting Christmas trees, that time has to be paid for somehow.
So maybe the allocation of costs would be their time sheets or something to show that there's, I look at it again, I'm not knocking any, I'm just looking at it from why there's a $200,000 difference there.
Yep.
Maybe there should be allocation of time across that differently. And the other thing, again, I come back and we raised taxes $950,000, and that carries forward each and every year. I see paving costs of $577, so that's excess of $373. I'm just taking your number. So again, I'm not up here to complain about, here's Dave Carson complaining. I just think of other things that we can look at to maybe do things better. Okay, other than here Cincinnati, and like we would allow. You live in the township. There's things I think that can be done better. And I appreciate your time. The time you put in is great. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to contribute toward the common good. That's all.
Thank you, David. Since you brought up paving, can I have that slide, please?
Sure.
Dave, you bring up something that the community really needs to focus on. Thank you. And that is paving. We've neglected it for a number of years for various reasons. We had bridges, we had other things. We didn't have enough money out of the Highway 8 fund. So with this, with the funds that the community has given us, we plan to deploy them in this way next year. And you're right. I can see where, as a citizen, you look at the budget, we're only spending 514, but it's not that way. So I wanted to show you a second slide down.
Hold on.
Rob. So Dave, we're spending more than that. It's coming together like this. These are where the road work location is going to be. These streets on the left-hand side of the slide. Okay. In the center of that, we've got an estimated cost to what we plan to spend in these sections of roads throughout the borough. And then on the far right side, we wanted to let you know what we're planning to do in those locations. So some of it is the full enchilada. They're ready to go. Paving, curb replacement, and ADA ramps if needed. But other areas maybe only need paving, or other areas only need ADA ramps. So we've got a plan, and we're moving forward, and we're grateful for the resources we have to take care of the roads of our community. And that's what we plan on spending next year is a little over $1 million.
There's calls from the general, for another funds, obviously.
Yes.
And there's
I mean,
for all that, like for the
Yes, sir.
project. And I understand, but what I'm saying is, kind of stole last year as we're increasing taxes to pay for it. So.
The complaint last year was we raised taxes $950,000, and we had how much left over on our budget? You remember?
What do you mean?
What was the net
Profit, so to speak?
Yeah.
18 grand.
Okay, you know what we ended up with?
I have no idea. We don't, these weren't, I asked Rob for the actual numbers, and they're not on, in the prior years, they were on the budget, they're not on this.
Okay, 1.3 million.
What's
So
that? What was-
1.3 million
Of what?
was the remaining revenue minus expenses
Excess?
excess.
Okay.
So your complaint that I think we tried to explain last year, we budget in a very conservative manner, always have for as long as Sue was here. Revenues are underestimated, expenses are overestimated, because what we don't want to do is have cash flow problems or, get into a predicament with paying bills. So I know you can believe what you want to believe, but that's what happened again. And is what'll happen with this budget. We always are conservative in our budgeting. So you may see a negative at the end of this, that won't be the case.
So let me ask you this then, so if you ended up a $1.3 million profit, why did you not reduce taxes then? Why'd you need the taxing?
We are continuing to deploy that money for paving and other projects.
How many year plan was the paving plan? Remember, Dave? when we done that
5
last
years
year?
ago.
20.
3 or
20,
whatever it was.
20 days.
Okay, you brought up the 1.3 profit, so to speak, but that included $950,000 of increased revenue from taxes. Right, so you saying then you actually made more money than what you needed to bring in for tax. I sat here last year. Everybody wants to be solvent. I want to have a solvent for a good. I sat here last year and there were people here, disabled people that were complaining that they couldn't afford to live in Lititz. One particular woman was on a walker. She was on SSI and she said, I can't afford even $250 increase in taxes. So those are the people I'm concerned about. I want the borough to be solid. Everybody wants the borough to be solid. But if you're telling me now you made $1.3 million net.
Well, Dave, we're not walking away with it. It's gonna be deployed into these projects over the course of a number of years. And the goal when we make tax increases is certainly not to be at your door every year asking for it. So these funds will be banked and deployed appropriately so that we don't need to do that.
Shane, just to your point, Dave, we didn't spend all the money. This year was the first year that we've sort of managed the paving. That's the first time. So we did take a conservative chunk of paving to be done, and it got changed on us at the last minute with Arrowhead and some changes that happened to us. So we didn't plan on spending all of it. Like Shane is saying, we deployed that for a bigger project. As you can see, our numbers is a large number, and most likely will be a large number next year as we continue to finish the underground. So we needed the fund. It's being redeployed where it's supposed to be. But
Same amount of money.
Yes.
That's going to be the same cost over the 20-year span. We took the mileage, I forget what the mileage was. We figured out what the cost was going to be. Figured out what the increase in cost was going to be over the 20 years. Granted, it might be collecting more money in the beginning because it's going to cost. Paving that $1 million project is going to cost much more in 10 years. So we're projecting that over that course of time rather than continue to increase the taxes over the 20-year span. So you're collecting maybe more now, but it's going to cost us more in 10 years from now than we're collecting.
Understood.
So it's proper forecast.
Well, again, I 63% real estate tax increase isn't unheard of. Okay, you can spin it any way you want. Okay, but we came to a meeting a few months later and someone came out about something and Mr. Brubaker said something to the fact that he was concerned that this is going to be too expensive place to live, affordable housing. So
We're the 5th lowest tax borough in Lancaster County.
based on what? Mills? That's only part of the equation.
Go ahead.
I agree with you, but I look at some of these costs, maybe it could be better. I'm not looking to knock the police force. I think they do a great job, but why is Warwick Township? I know there's different demographics. $663,000, that's a heck of a lot of money.
Out of 26 police forces in the county, where do you think we rank?
I have no idea.
We're number 9, the
Okay.
lowest
Okay,
of compensation out of
Great.
26.
okay, compensation, I'm looking at cost to the taxpayer. We're looking at it from different
It's the same
perspectives.
thing. It's the same thing.
How
It's
is
the
that?
cost.
Why are they paying 2.3,990,000? We're paying 3,063,000.
Well, again, you're talking about level of service with something like this. Warwick Township, how many events do you think they
I have
host
no
versus the
idea.
borough?
What kind of events?
Where they close streets and have to have police out walking around and,
Maybe if there's a special event, the vendors or the special event should be paying for that. That's no
Well, they-
benefit to the taxpayer to have those special events.
they do pay for 50% of the chief is here, 50% of the police cost and 100% of the event staff. Okay.
Okay,
So that but to have in-house police to be able to run this town, sure there would be a way to do it. I think it would be incredibly different and change the character of the downtown if you had contracted services providing service to those events. I think people appreciate the police. I think they believe that it's worth what it costs. You don't, and that's fine.
No, I didn't say that, did I? I never said I don't believe what it's cost. My question is, there's other areas of the borough than just the downtown. Okay? There's special events don't benefit the other parts of the borough other than the vendors, the store owners down here. Okay? I'm sure Warwick Township, I know, is that an unsafe township? Probably not. But there's a significant difference. If you're going to ask people to continue to pay, and there's concerns by Mr. Brubaker saying he's concerned that we're gonna be unaffordable to live here. I hear people saying they can't afford to stay here for last year's increase. I don't see any kind of cuts.
Let's stay on the topic of the police. If all of us in the room had the same business, provide the same service. And I was paying my staff the lowest, you think all the staff would stay with me, or would they go to each of you guys?
I'm looking at.
That's a simple business question.
Why are they paying, we paying 2,399,000? Why are we paying 3,063,000? They're paying 2,399,000. Are we getting that much better service than they are? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying they're getting crap service, if there's office over crap?
No, it's a different level of service. They're doing a lot of, we're doing community policing, a lot of on-foot work. You know, they're driving around and they can cover a lot of area driving with fewer officers than cover with staff that's, you know, on foot and doing things in a community policing setting.
I've never seen anybody walking in my neighborhood on foot. So maybe they're walking around the block. I'm just, look, we're all in it the same. I'm just saying, is that something going forward we can look at? I would just ask you to look at that. Maybe there's ways to reduce some costs. Okay, I'm not saying we're better or worse than Warwick Township, but that's a significant difference. Okay, all right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. I'll get back to you on the hourly for Walt.
Okay, thank you.
Good?
Good.
Going once, twice, all right. We still have our petitions, correspondence, and questions, so if anyone has anything unrelated to the budget, now would be the time. Right, no other business. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.